For instance, you are standing in what was once a building, but is now a spindle-shanked ghost of its former self. A single man nursing a broken leg sprawls on the black earthen floor. A pile of wooden beds is heaped in the north corner. Rain has formed a pool in the middle of the room, crawling and spreading into an ever wider circle as the last shower drips from the roof. Some filthy sheets lie wound into a sticky ball on two beds, one of which is overturned. A large iron washing tub stands in the open doorway. Now, where are you? It would be impossible to guess. As a matter of fact, you are in the military hospital of the second most important town of Haiti, a state-supported concern in which the soldiers of the Republic are supposed to be cured of all the ills of the flesh. It was the same with the electric light. The power plant was here, but it did not work. It was the same with the Army's cannon. There are cannon, but they won't go off. It was the same with their railways. They are being hurried forward, but they never progressed. It was the same with everything. End of quote. Well, there are many more examples. What had dawned on Pritchard is that the Haitians really don't care. To them, the imitation of civilization is as good as the real thing. They believe that if they are able to dress like white men and speak the white man's language and mimic the white man's institutions, then they are as good as white men. And you know, what Pritchard observed of the Haitians applies equally well to blacks in the United States today. Pritchard ends his book with a chapter titled, "Can the Negro Rule Himself?" And he answers his question, and I quote, "The present condition of Haiti gives the best possible answer to the question. And considering the experiment has lasted for a century, perhaps also a conclusive one. For a century, the answer has been working itself out there in flesh and blood. The Negro has had his chance, a fair field, and no favor. He has had the most beautiful and fertile of the Caribbees for his own. He has had the advantage of excellent French laws. He inherited a made country with Cape Haitian for its Paris. Here was a wide land sown with prosperity, a land of wood, water, towns and plantations. And in the midst of it, the black man was turned loose to work out his own salvation. What has he made of the chances that were given to him?" Pritchard then summarizes the century of Haiti's independent existence, running through a list of black rulers and strong men, of revolutions and massacres and disorders. He winds up his survey, and again I quote, "Suffice it to say that Haiti's best president was Geffrard, a mulatto, and that the dictatorship of her black heads of state always has been marked by a redder smear than usual upon the page of history. The better, the wiser, the more enlightened and less brutalized class has always been composed of the mulattoes, and the blacks have recognized the fact and hated the mulatto element accordingly. Up to pass from the earlier days of independence to more recent times, we had not long ago the savage rule of President Solomon, a notorious sectary of snake worship, beneath whose iron hand the country groaned for years, and public executions, assassinations, and robbery were the order of the day. And at the present time, today in Haiti, we come to the real crux of the question. At the end of 100 years of trial, how does the black man govern himself? What progress has he made? Absolutely none." End of quote. That's the way it was a century ago when Pritchard wrote. And that's essentially the way it is today. despite 3 large-scale efforts by the United States during this century to improve the lot of the Haitians. Now, why is all of this important to us? I'll tell you why. A century ago, Pritchard was by no means an unusual man of his class. He went to Haiti. He carefully observed life there in great detail over an extended period, and he drew logical and reasonable conclusions from his observations. Other scholars of his day could have done the same thing. But it is unimaginable that a scholar today, whether from Britain or America, could make observations like Pritchard did, draw similar conclusions, and then publish his conclusions in a book by a mainstream publisher. It is simply not possible. In the first place, one would be hard-pressed to find a scholar from any university in America or Britain today who would have the courage to write honestly about Haiti, because he knows that if he did, he would be condemned as a racist by a numerous and noisy faction of his colleagues and would be drummed out of the academy. And even if someone did write a book with observations and conclusions similar to Pritchard's, no mainstream publisher would touch it. That's how far downhill our civilization has slid in a century. The Haitians have their voodoo, with all of its disgusting and bizarre beliefs and practices. And we have our cult of political correctness, our cult of egalitarianism. It is a cult based as much on superstition and as devoid of reason and logic as the voodoo of the Haitians. And it exercises as strong a hold on its adherents. A Haitian would as soon offend a voodoo witch doctor and risk having a curse put on himself as one of our modern scholars would risk being labeled a racist. Of course, I'm not saying that we are no better than Haitians just because we let ourselves be intimidated by vulgar superstitions such as egalitarianism. But I do believe that when the more rational elements of our population finally gather enough courage to rise up and stamp out the cult of political correctness, the affair will be bloodier than anything Haiti has seen in its blood-soaked history. And the sooner the better. Thanks for being with me again today.